I'm Christopher Rowe, and this is my Army story.
Christopher Rowe, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man.
Hey, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, and this was kind of a little bit last minute, but I appreciate the time, and I'm excited to get a senior officer on my podcast. I didn't think it was going to get to this point.
Hey, you made it to the big time. You got me on here. How? I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to Jerry, I got you on here, and it's good because I know a lot of us enlisted. I have obviously I have a lot enlisted on my socials, my Facebook, my Instagram, TikTok, and they always question right their commanders' decisions and stuff like that.
Sure.
Um, I know you're not gonna be able to get fully into what details and stuff like that, but it would be good in the mindset of what you guys go through and stuff like that because it's a lot of responsibility.
No, it really is. Yeah, I'm game for wherever we want to go with this, man. It's funny. I'll start real quick. So my dad was enlisted for 29 and a half and retired as a sergeant major. So that was really kind of my background growing up and what I
Mhm.
thought I would do until he stepped in and said, "Nope, nope, I want you to be an officer." So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Did what was his job in the
he was
army?
he
Was
was
he in
an
the army?
MP. Yeah, he was an MP in the Army Reserves. Like I said, did 29 and a half, mainly in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
But he was also civilian law enforcement as well.
Mhm.
So you can
Hey, let
imagine
me
what that
ask.
was like growing up.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Is it true? Like, my dad served, but he only served 8 years in the Navy, and I'm wondering how it's like. Like the older generation when they raise their kids, they always say, "Oh, I was very military and everything like that." Was it like that the case for you too?
Yeah, yeah, it was. Um, So probably the best example of that was so for starters, I was an only child, so there was no hiding. There was no, oh, Tommy did it or Sarah did it. It was if anybody did it, it was me, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and he knew, he definitely knew. So I had just graduated high school, my first semester in college, and I'm leaving a party there at the university that I'm at maybe somewhere after midnight. Nothing good happens after midnight, right?
Right.
But I'm sober. Thank goodness I'm sober. But I jump in my car, and we're like five of us are leaving, and I decide I want to peel out in a gravel parking lot. So I peel out of the gravel parking lot, get onto the road, and I swear, as soon as I hit the road, the berries started flashing behind me.
Oh,
I'm just
wow.
thinking, oh crap, here we go. So I pull over real quick, and it's just me in the car. Cop comes up. I'm driving an old SUV, and I've got my spit bottle sitting in the center console there. It's a Mountain Dew bottle. He walks up. First thing he says, besides driver's license and registration, he's like, "What's in the bottle?" I'm like, "It's spit. You want some?" He's like, "All right, I'll be right back." So he steps away from the car, comes back. He goes, got a big old smile on his face at this point, like he's got me. He's like, so Rowe, that's your last name, right? Your dad wouldn't happen to be BW Rowe, would it? And I melted into the chair at that point. I'm like, yep, that's my dad. It's like, yeah, okay. I know BW. Tell him I said hi. You have a good day, sir. About a week later, I go out to the house for dinner, and my dad, the first thing he said when he saw me, he's like, "What were you doing on your Friday night at 12 o'clock on such and such street? Why were you act?" Yeah, so it was quite strict, but it was good, man. I mean, I don't think I would have changed my childhood for just about anything.
Yeah, so you talked about how you went to college, but when did you decide to enlist and then switch over?
Yeah, so I like to think in my mind that one of the reasons I have done well as an Army officer is my ability to relate to people in general,
Hmm.
but specifically to relate to soldiers,
Right.
and that is because of how I joined the Army and my path through the Army. The reason I enlisted was because I had no purpose, no direction, no motivation.
Hmm.
Coming out of high school, I was a straight A student, played all the sports, all those things. I was jokingly, I was the kid that you wanted your daughter to date.
Right.
Um, and then I went to Florida State University in the mid '90s. So in between their first two national championships, when everything was golden there, and yeah, I did all of the things that a college freshman that has never done any of the things could do. I was bartending, going to parties, all that sort of stuff. Which again, I just never did because we lived kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But I was also just focused on other things when I was a young teenager. And then I had a seminal moment one night. I'm sitting in a Waffle House with my best friend, and I don't know why, but all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but this is
Hmm.
not it. This is
Yeah.
not it. So about a week later, I went to a recruiting station in December of 1996. Walked in and said, "I want to be on the first thing leaving. What do you got?" And he said, "Ooh, I got something for you." And so, yeah, and so, kind of a funny story there, real quick. He's like, "You ever see the movie Outbreak?" And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Outbreak. It's an older movie
Uh.
from the '90s, and at that time, it was still kind of a bigger movie. And I had seen it. I was like, "Oh yeah, that was really cool." Chasing down diseases and monkeys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, "Yeah, you want to do something like that?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, yeah, I want to do something like that." He's like, "All right, you ever heard of a chemical operations specialist?" I'm like, "Nah, but that sounds really cool, man." So yeah, in December 16th, 1996, I signed on the dotted line to be a what was then a 54 Bravo chemical operations specialist.
Hmm. And did you actually like do any part of your job? I know you were in the reserves. I'm looking at your stuff
Yeah,
right here. Did you actually do any of it like in that year that you were in the reserves before you transitioned?
yeah, no, I did. So I was the specialist for the MP company, or sorry, MP battalion there in Tallahassee, Florida,
Okay.
where I was stationed or assigned. Did that for about 12 months. Still on the fence at that point about whether or not I was ROTC or what I was going to do. But
Yeah.
what I knew was that as a 54 Bravo at that unit, I because I'd already made specialist, I was not going to go any higher until the E7 NCOIC that I had decided to leave or retire because there was just literally nowhere else for me to go.
Hmm.
And so I quickly transitioned to be an MP, which is what I had kind of wanted to be to begin with. Um, and so they sent me to MOS course at Fort Gordon,
Hmm.
Georgia, where I switched, became a 95 Bravo. Did that for about a year in the reserves, and then that's when I transitioned because at the end of that second year in the reserves is when I put my foot in the sand and said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna try this ROTC thing. So why don't I transition over to the National Guard? One, because it was an infantry unit, and I decided that what I really want to do is I want to go to Ranger School and I want to be an infantry officer.
Yeah.
And two, the Florida National Guard did 100% tuition reimbursement. And so, yeah, yeah, sign me up, right? So
I have two questions here. So, I know you said your dad kind of told you you should go the officer route and everything like
mhm.
that. Is that something that like you knew right away after he told you about it, or you're like, hey, I still want to kind of try to be enlisted? Because it looks like you got what you commissioned around what 02?
2001.
2001. Okay, so
Yep.
like did you like especially during the
I,
time of like 9/11, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
did you know, like, hey, I want to be a enlisted man, or I want to lead the like be the ones that responsible, right? I guess you could say.
So initially, I mean, I think like a lot of young men and maybe even women, we kind of grow up a little bit and we get into that phase in our lives where we want to be contrary just to be contrary,
Mhm.
right? I don't know if you got any kids. I've got one that's 20 years old in college, and I've got a 15-year-old downstairs, and they love to do whatever the opposite thing is that I tell them to do just
Yeah,
because, right?
right.
I was 100% like that. Even then, I mean, hell, okay. So I was recruited out of high school to play football. I wasn't going to be anything good. I wasn't going to Florida State University or anything crazy like that.
Right.
But a lot of D2 schools, West Point came knocking. They wanted me to play for them. Merchant Marine Academy. I even went so far as to get the letter of recommendation from Congress people there in Florida. But at some point in my life, because my dad had been in the army, I said, you know what? I don't want to join the army. I want absolutely nothing to do with the army.
Yeah.
And that still kind of continued a little bit even after I was like, okay, well, good enough for dad is good enough for me. Um, and he's trying to get me to be an officer. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like being enlisted. It's kind of nice. I get to be with people I like. I don't know anything
Mhm.
about being an officer, nothing like that. And what really sold me more than anything is I got lucky in the ROTC program that I decided to go into there at Florida State.
Mhm.
We had a phenomenal professor of military science, or PMS, um, guy by the name of Lieutenant Colonel Jim Waldo. He was an infantry officer. He really took an interest in me, and the class that I ended up graduating with. There were only about 17 of us, but out of that, 5 of us went into the infantry, and this
Okay.
was all pre 9/11. So I graduated in
Yeah.
2001, but I graduated in May of 2001. So we still didn't know anything about what was coming.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but all of us. Oh, and oh, by the way, what one, two, three of us were roommates together as well. And so we just kind of fed off each other, right? And it
Right.
became this thing where, yeah, I want to do this. Yeah, me too. I want to do this. This is awesome, right? And it just became this kind of natural fit, um, to the point where when it came time to branch, and in ROTC, the way it works, or at least the way it used to work, is in the fall of your senior year, you submit your paperwork, and it's basically a rank ordering of all the branches,
Mhm.
and you gotta do it by the first three. It used to be combat support, combat service support. So the first three, you had to have one of each of those three in there. And in my mind, I still was thinking, okay, long term, I want to be police of some sort of law enforcement. But I
Yeah.
was thinking, I thought I wanted to be federal law enforcement. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm only going to do this for 3 years because I didn't do a scholarship or anything like that. So when I graduated, I was only going to have 3 years left.
Mhm.
That let me do the best of both worlds here. I'm going to try to do a branch detail. So I'll start off infantry, and then I'll go do military intelligence. And how
Yeah.
cool will that look to the FBI or the CIA, or whatever three-letter agency you want to throw out there? So I submitted it that way. I want to say about 24, 48 hours later, I get called into Colonel Waldo's office, and he was a good old boy from the state of Arkansas. Played football for the University of Arkansas. He had that really thick Southern Arkansas accent. He's like, "Mr. Rowe, have a seat." Like, yes, sir. It's like, it says here, you want to go with my. Like, yes, sir. I laid out everything I just told you to him. He's like, that sounds like a really good plan, Mr. Rowe. Except I think you're just going to go infantry. Oh, okay, sir, but I mean, it's my choice, right? Yes, sir. It is. It is. Uh, but you suck at doing MI stuff. Like, sir? He's like, I've seen you give briefings, Mr. Rowe, in front of classes. You suck. But when I get you out there in the field and you're doing op orders, you are awesome. And I started thinking about it. Like, yeah, I don't really like getting up and doing briefings in front of classes. I prefer to do the stuff out in the field and getting dirty and being with the boys again, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it was probably the second best decision of my life besides asking my wife to marry me.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that story. And there's a lot that I want to kind of like bring
Yeah,
together just a little bit though. Um, I agree with you. Like, I was the same way with my father. I didn't really listen to him either, and I think that's important. It was like usually like somebody on the out. I have a daughter, but she's 7, so she's still my little angel. But I assume when she's 15, she's gonna hate me. So, but you know, when you talked about like, hey, I had a friend, and then that's when you kind of recollected that I need to be in, and then stuff like that. That's kind of what happened to me too. Why I needed to join, and for good, better, and different, the army definitely made me to who I am today. And uh, I I wouldn't ask for a better career. And I know that and it's pretty funny you're talking about that senior officer talking to you like that. I had no idea they talked like that. To be honest, I think it's just around us. They're like
yeah,
ultra professional, and I'm like, hey, but it's good, man. And then obviously it worked out well for you. So, but
yeah.
question, like, did you ever, like, assume that, "Hey, I'm gonna go to a war zone as an infantry officer," or you were just like, no, this you know what I mean? Like, nobody knew
Yeah,
that was gonna happen.
no, no, not at all. Yeah, that's funny, right? Because I couldn't have told you um, if you would have asked me back then why infantry, besides from the fact that I wanted to go to Ranger school.
Right.
And then you would have been like, okay, great. Well, why do you want to be a Ranger? It sounds cool.
Yeah. No, I got you.
It sounds really cool. And then with
Yeah.
the again with the ROTC process, back then the only people that could go to Ranger school were combat arms. And
Right.
so, okay, well that gets rid of two sets of branches there. Now, who's left in the combat arms, and what are my odds in each one of those? And
Yeah.
it became very, very easy when infantry branch was looking at me and they said, "No, you're going to Ranger school. The only way you don't go to Ranger school is if if you say you don't want to go to Ranger school."
Right.
Yeah, okay, great. Where do I sign?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no. As
Uh,
far as sorry, real quick. As far as going to combat and doing my
mhm.
job in combat, man, I mean, I was by that age, I was a little bit older. Definitely older than the average person,
Yeah.
but no, I had no, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Definitely
Mhm.
not understanding that 9/11 was coming or anything like that.
Yeah.
But even still, like I was thinking, okay, let me do this thing right here in front of me, which is get through infantry officer basic course and ranger school.
Right.
And then let me see what the next kind of 5 meter,
Yeah.
meter target is.
How was Ranger school? Is it so you're probably like what, 21, 22 years old?
At that time, I was sorry, math public. I think I was 23 or 24.
Okay. So how was Ranger school as a
Yeah.
23, 24-year-old?
Oh, it sucked. I mean, it's everything that everybody ever says it is, right? I recycled once. Um, the problem with mine was that I recycled during the best ranger competition. So
Mhm.
that's when they do all their block leaves. So my recycle was 5.5 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
instead of it being a 60, yeah, instead of it being a 62-day course, which is what it was designed to be, it was
Mhm.
a 5.5 month course for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Let
So
me
it was,
I always want
it was
I was
crazy.
always curious about the ranger school thing, especially now that from a commander's perspective. Do you guys really like look for like young PLs to have all that stuff?
Yes and no. Because the reason I say that is I can only talk for me. I can't speak for my peers
Right.
or the people that are doing it now. Um, at the end of the day, what I need out of an infantry officer is I need
Mhm.
a good leader, a motivator, and somebody that can take direction, right? And then impart that onto their platoon. Do you have to have a Ranger tab to be able to do that? No, you absolutely don't. Some of the best officers in the military that I know don't have a Ranger tab. They really
Mhm.
don't. Some of the worst officers I've known in the military had a Ranger tab. It it's just a piece of cloth that says you know how to suck for 62 days, and it shows that you have potential to be a good leader. Potential. It doesn't make you a good leader. Now, it is a phenomenal leadership course, absolutely. Um, but just because you go there and you graduate, it doesn't make you one.
Mhm. Deep right there. I
So,
like it. So, when you graduate Ranger school and then you go, where do you get your first orders to? How does that work?
so I got my first orders even before I graduated college. I knew again similar process with branching as with first assignments in ROTC. You kind of they rack and stack for you, and you
Yeah.
put your list of top choices. Again, kind of getting back to that whole contrary mindset that I had. Um, all of my roommates and all of my buddies, they, Fort Bragg, Fort Campbell, Fort Bragg, Fort Campbell, they all wanted to go there. Again, I couldn't have told you anything about Fort Bragg or Fort Campbell.
Mhm.
I just knew that I wanted to go do my own thing.
Right.
I also knew that at that point, I was dating this young lady very seriously. And there was this rule back then called hardship tours that you had to do every so often. Um, and that at the end of hardship tours, HRC usually gave you assignment of choice afterwards. Well, she still got a year of college left than that 1 year. So I asked for and received Korea. I also was taking a calculated risk of it's a 1 year assignment. And so if they end up putting me mechanized, it's only for 1 year. If they
Mhm.
end up putting me light, great. I get to be light infantry.
Yeah.
And then I'll suck the egg on what comes next afterwards.
Um, so, excuse me. Obviously, 9/11 happened when you were in Ranger school, correct?
Actually, it happened when I was in OVC. Yeah, I was out and we were getting ready to do platoon line fires there at Fort Benning, Georgia. And the captain that was our platoon tac pulled us all in. We're in a little ORP waiting our turn to go through. I think the blank fire portion of it.
Yeah.
Um, and he starts explaining all this stuff that's going on. And I'm just sitting there, and it's blowing my mind, and it's not really computing. And so he's like, "All right, anybody got any questions, sir? Is this part of the scenario?" He's like, "No, no, Chris, this is literally happening."
Yeah.
Um, and then they kept us out in the field because again nobody knew what was happening, right?
Mhm.
I mean, as far as we were thinking we might all deploy as a platoon somewhere for all we knew. So literally they kept us out there. We finally got back Friday afternoon. Immediately, cleaned weapons, turned them in real quick, and I hauled butt down to Tallahassee where my wife was still going to school, or
Mhm.
then fiance was still going to school. Got to her apartment that evening, probably about 9, 10 o'clock at night, and that's the first time that I had even seen any footage or read any news or anything.
Yeah.
And it just I was floored. Had no idea
Yeah.
what was going on.
It's tough, you know. I was only like 6 years old when it happened, and I vaguely remember the TVs and stuff. And it's crazy that this event led up to what 20 years of our lives.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
uh,
and not
it's wild.
yeah. And to introduce levity back into it there, I don't, for anybody that's listening to this podcast, and it seems like you got a pretty good listenership there, please don't recognize the math that he just put out there for you. That I was in my mid 20s when this happened and he was 6. Okay. Don't look at that. Okay.
um, so okay, so you go to Korea first, right? And
Yep.
obviously some stuff is we get some units in Afghanistan, right? We're looking for old bin Laden and stuff like that. How are you
Yeah.
taking your first like platoon and everything like that?
So we were all kind of bitter. So I end up in second platoon Alpha Company, first of the 506th. So we're up on the DMZ. So back then you had two light infantry battalions. You had first of the 506 all the way up on the DMZ, and you had first of the 503rd, which was just a little bit south at Camp Casey. Um, and yeah, when I finally took the platoon, we were all just kind of bitter, thinking, okay, we're gonna miss the war.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's gonna be it's gonna be over before we even get out of this thing.
Right.
And so we're look, Korea is its own beast.
Yeah, I know, I was there.
Yeah, okay, and definitely back then, man, because at that point in time, I failed to mention this previously, but the one of the other reasons I wanted to go there is you were getting some of the best training in the world there because
Mhm.
it was the closest thing to combat that you could get was going to Korea.
Wow, that's an
So
interesting take.
yeah, so we were training our butts off. You know, God, there was a period of time I want to say from about mid-December to mid-February, that we were in the field constantly, and I mean literally constantly, except for about 3 weeks. So three 1 week increments for three different exercises.
Yeah,
And it was just go 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 go. And
yeah.
so we didn't have a lot of time to, quite frankly, sit around and bemoan the fact that we weren't going to get to deploy. But when we did, that was what was going through our minds is, oh man, we're going to miss it all. It's going to be over before we even get out of here.
How was how was your first platoon sergeant, right? Because everybody always knows
Yeah,
that the platoon sergeant molds the lieutenant. So how was that for
yeah.
you?
He's in the pantheon of great NCOs, and I have had some phenomenal NCO counterparts. He's right up there with the tops. Sergeant First Class Mangales, retired as a sergeant major. He was phenomenal. He was like this 6'2", 240-pound Guatemalan, which, I mean, if you know anything about Guatemalans, that is an absolute anomaly.
Mhm.
Just a big beast of a man. Had spent most of his life in the 82nd, so he's born through and through. And yeah, he was. I could not have asked for a better NCO when being a new lieutenant. One of the best pieces of advice my dad ever gave me, and it's all luck and happenstance when it comes to NCO officer pairings, right? Uh,
Yeah,
there's
for
there's a
sure.
little there's a little bit more of it when you get to maybe the GO level and you get to interview and stuff like that, but there's still a selection board that goes into it. But as a lieutenant, I mean, come on, I'm lucky if I get you. I'm unlucky if you get me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so my dad, when I'm getting ready to leave, literally as I'm getting on the airplane, he's like, "Remember, find that find that senior NCO, get in his hip pocket, and learn everything you can from him. And let him know that you're there to learn." So I mean, literally, as part of my counseling statement to him, I had written that down. Like, all right, Sergeant Mangels, my dad literally told me to tell you this, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I did. I've always been a straight shooter. I think I told Jerry this same story once. That yeah, it's I was there to learn, and he was
Mhm.
there to teach. Thank God.
Yeah, that's awesome. It was kind of like you said, a mixture like, "Hey, I'm grateful for you, you're not grateful for me," but, I definitely seen the the dynamic of 2, like, people that didn't click and then definitely the ones that click, and it's definitely a better, dynamic that the 2 click to help the
Yeah.
platoon more than anything, especially for the soldiers because they're always
Oh
out
God,
there
yeah.
trying to do the missions and stuff like that, so it's good too because I know they're not supposed to be doing it, but it happens a lot, quite frankly, when the NCOs start bashing the leadership in front of the
Hmm.
soldiers, and that's pretty bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't agree with bashing anybody out in public. I always say like, "Hey, you're gonna critique them in private and then praise them in public." So I always
Yeah.
thought that was a good thing.
No, that absolutely, that's a great point. I would always tell my NCOs, look, behind closed doors, you and I, we can disagree, we can fight. I honestly don't care if you call me a. Am I allowed to cuss on this?
You sure are. You can say
Okay.
whatever you want.
I don't care if you call me a motherfucker or what. But the minute we open the door, we're a unified team,
Right.
and we've got to be like that. And if you can't handle that, if you can't be like that, then let me know, and then we will take next steps to try to rectify that. Thank God I never really had to do that.
Mhm.
I did have, I think, maybe one counterpart that, at least on a personal level, he was still really, really good. But on a professional level, we'll say that the higher ups decided he needed to move on.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna ask you, how do you feel since you are a high ranking officer? How do you feel about just this general statement? Like the sometimes you need that confrontation though with somebody, like just saying, hey, like to
Mhm.
challenge what you're gonna say. Obviously not in public, but like behind closed doors instead. Like, do you think that helps you or anything?
I do. I think there's a way to do it though, right?
Right.
And so you got to be careful who you open that up to,
Hmm.
and then realize if I'm saying that to an E5 or an E6 as a
Yeah.
lieutenant colonel, then
Yeah.
I had better be ready for an E5 E6 response,
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
right? And
No.
so, but I mean that not everybody is willing to even take that from their sergeant major, right? They just, hey, I want you there to shut up and color and tell me that I look great, even though I got no clothes on.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right. I think that was excuse me, I don't wanna talk about myself too much, but I thought that, was good for my career, right? I went over to the aviation side, and immediately I went to, like, as a E5, I was, like, the NCOIC for, like, the aid station, I guess you could call it. So, I was
yeah,
always doing command and staff, and then I was always dealing with the lieutenant colonel and the sergeant major all the time, and I think that's something good that medical personnel get, right? We get
mhm,
to that spot faster, the staff and
yeah,
briefing and doing that stuff faster than like the combat arm specific people do, right? They're doing mainly stuff with the soldiers and stuff.
Jerry used to joke. So the first we'll probably get there, but if not, the first portion of our command together. And for the listeners, that's Jerry Heim. He did one of these before. Absolutely phenomenal. NCO, please go listen to the podcast with Jerry there. He's one of my best friends. But when Jerry and I first took over, shortly thereafter, COVID became a real thing, and it just locked everything down, right? And so the majority of our days were he and I kind of sneaking into the office and then walking to the barracks, right? And we'd walk through the barracks, do barracks checks together, kind of hang out. And I would purposely try to seek out soldiers just so that I could sit there and have a conversation with them for a little bit.
Mhm.
And Drew's like, what? I'm like, look, man, I just want him to talk to me, right? I, I,
Yeah.
I just want him to talk to me. Okay. I
Yeah.
don't need to be this unapproachable old man. I mean, I got
Right.
it. I'm the old man, whatever, but I need them to be able to talk to me because that's the only way to head off problems. That's the only way to get to solutions in life, period. That if they
Mhm.
if they feel like that their voice doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. And my job is to make sure that their voice does matter.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to take everybody's opinion in, and I can't. You're not going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. But it got to the point that Jerry would then go out when we're walking around, and he'd see me start walking to somebody. He'd go up before him and say, "Hey, the boss is coming to you. He wants to talk to you. Like literally, he wants to talk to you. Not because you're in trouble, not because you did something. He just wants to talk to you. So don't be he wouldn't say this, my words, not his. Don't be
Right.
stupid and just stand there and say yes or no, sir, yes or no, sir. Try to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, when did you, make lieutenant colonel?
Was it March of 2018, I think?
I was gonna say this because I did notice that with my soldiers is when they, and I thought we had a very approachable, commander, but, I think it's the whole, like, the interaction thing, like the phone thing, they're not very, personable. I'm serious. Like
Yeah.
I think that's what it
Yeah.
is. Honestly, like
Yeah.
they're like hesitant to talk, and I'm like, dude, how do we break this ice, man? Like,
No,
so
no, you're hitting on a topic that absolutely has bothered me for a while,
uh
and that is that the whole generational shift away from doing face to face to let's do everything virtually to now it's I think we are slowing back to a happy medium, but it's still you have to break the habit and the mold of the young people that we get in that all they want to do is talk via text, talk via
yeah,
communications device. Vice lets know I need to have that face to face. I need to have that interaction so that when I'm talking to you, one, I know that you're listening, you're picking up what I'm putting down, or no, you're kind of staring off into space and you're not getting it.
yeah.
So
You know, it's interesting too because like the army really, I just found this out maybe a month or two ago. I didn't know that. The, I don't know if it's like a platoon or a company of like army influencers for the generation. I didn't know that that was a thing until like I said, maybe a month or two ago. But I mean, I
yeah,
guess that's the right way to go because that's the way some people are gonna listen. You know, I have a stepson that he said the same thing. He's like, you know, social media really ruined my generation, and he's in the Air Force. So
yeah,
he told me a little bit about how it's hard for him to interact with people and stuff like that. So
it is. But how else are you going to reach the most people, right?
right, right,
And so I mean, it's unfortunately it's a part of our society right now, and it's one of those that leaders have said it's you either get on board or you get left behind.
yeah, sucks. Um,
It does.
but all right. So okay, so you do your career tour. You learn a lot from Sergeant Mangel, I think it was his
Yep.
name.
Man goes.
And so when you get on orders, right? You probably get on orders probably like what 10 months in your contract, maybe 2 months before you have to leave, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
right. About 2 months out.
And did you okay, so we're in 2002, right? Afghanistan's still going on,
Hmm.
or, you're in 2003, sorry about that,
Oh, you're good.
are you wanting to go to a unit that is gonna go? Because I know Afghanistan's going on, you know,
I,
Iraq goes on
yes,
March.
yes, I'm wanting to go to a unit that's going. So initially, I have signed up to go to Third ID and be mechanized because
Okay,
at this point, two reasons: one, the deployment, but then two, infantry branch has instituted the idea of all officers must alternate assignments between light and mech, light and
okay.
mech.
That was gonna be
Um,
my question.
yep. And so the new hotness that's out there right now is this thing called striker, right? Striker units.
Right.
I don't know anything about it, whatever, but that's on the background right now. And so I'm having a conversation with my wife who's in college, and I'm explaining, yeah, hey, I got my first choice for Fort Stewart, Georgia, and she's like, "What? Fort Stewart, Georgia? I don't want to go to Georgia. I want to I want to go to like Colorado or someplace like that." Like, okay. So I immediately start making phone calls to HRC, trying to get to Fort Carson. Of course, they're laughing at me the whole time. I'm like, look, I don't care, just not Georgia, not Georgia. I'll take not Georgia. And so finally, the lady, I wish I remembered her name because I talked to her probably about 50 times. She's like, all right, fine. There's an opening in First Brigade 25th ID at Fort Lewis, Washington. Okay, what kind of unit is it? It's a striker unit. Sure, whatever. I'll take it. And so yeah, we end up at Fort Lewis. Fort Lewis. I got there probably 2 or 3 months after they transitioned from Brads to Strikers,
Okay.
and about a year before they were already on the patch chart at that point, but about a year before deployment to Iraq.
Was this your unit's, like, first time deploying, or they've already gone?
No, this was the unit's first time deploying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, when you hear this, right, and, like, you check into to the unit, how do you feel as because you're probably or you're first lieutenant or second lieutenant still?
I'm a first lieutenant, about anywhere from a year to maybe 18 months away from promotion to captain.
Right. So, how do you feel as a young first lieutenant? Like, hey, you're gonna go to combat with these guys. Like, what's your mindset?
I'm still excited at this point. But then I quickly find out that I'm not going to be a PL anymore.
Oh
I'm going
wow.
to sit on, yeah, I'm going to sit on staff until I go to the career course.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so I briefly made a foray into putting a packet together to go SF,
Hmm.
until my battalion commander found out. And he was like, "Okay, fine, fine. Well, I'm gonna put you in a platoon in December." Okay, yeah, I'm not trying to hold you hostage here, sir, but I also don't want to sit on staff as a lieutenant, soon to be captain, for 2 years before I even go to the career course, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, ended up taking a platoon in December of 2003, I
Hmm.
think it was, and was the platoon leader there with them until December 2004, when I was a captain in Iraq.
Okay. So, how was the train up? Like, what are you guys doing, especially as a new striker unit?
Yeah.
Like, the tactics, are just different
Mhm.
now, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And most of us were light infantry people that were coming over now because striker's better than mech in our minds. I'm not saying that for all of you mech guys out there. God bless you. I never want to be one. I'm glad you're out there. But in our minds, it's striker. It's not mech. And so I remember we go to Yakima, which is a training area south of Tacoma, Washington, where Fort Lewis is. And while we're there, we're doing convoy live fires, or sorry, we're doing gunnery as we call it, which ended up just being convoy live fires because for us that was gunnery, right? We
Right.
didn't know anything about it, and a lot of our training was not geared towards Iraq or Afghanistan or anything like that because those lessons learned just had not filtered through the system and made their way into the mainstream.
Yeah.
Um, we did a CTC rotation down to Fort Polk.
Hmm.
I did that as a PL, but again, it was we did a couple of the mock kind of Shura sit down with the village elder thing, but it was still a lot more what you would consider hick, high intensity combat, in a lot of ways. It Look, at the end of the day, an infantry soldier needs to be good at the basics.
Right.
If you can do the basics, you can do the blocking and the tackling, then you can adapt from there
Okay.
because that's what the army needs. They need to
Yeah.
take they don't need Chris Rowe. What they need is an infantry officer that knows what they're doing. Put them over here that can go over there and do a multitude of things because the situation has changed and is always changing and it doesn't look anything like what you trained up on.
Hmm.
Okay. And so I would argue that we were very blessed with some of the senior leaders we had there. That's what we did. And so I felt, going probably a little naively, but I felt going into Iraq the first time that, yeah, we were ready, man. Let's do this.
Yeah. When do you guys go to Iraq?
We deployed October of 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
Um, what obviously, it's kind of weird how I explain this to people, but the people that didn't weren't in the military, I always say it's kind of like excitement, right? You're a
Mhm.
young man about to do a job full time in a war zone. There's the inherent thing, obviously, of people losing their lives, but you're not really thinking about that. Um,
Yeah.
so and you're
My
still
first
a put
firefight, I wasn't even thinking about that.
right. Yeah, I know. It's weird too, right? Because we kind of like romanticize like the combat
Mhm.
infantry badge, the for
Yeah.
my case, the combat medic badge, and
Yeah.
it's like a rite of passage, and so as a young PL, or are you going the captain now?
So I'm still a platoon leader, but I am a captain
Okay.
now.
Oh, okay. So you're a captain in a platoon leader position.
Yes.
Okay. So take me through it, man. Like I
Yeah.
always, it's always interesting to me. Like like officers, they have a lot of responsibility. Going down there, you're responsible for like the mission planning and everything like that. So kind of like you guys get tired, or you get on the bird, you fly to Kuwait. Where are y'all going?
So our brigade is replacing 3rd Brigade, 2nd ID, which was the first Striker Brigade. We were the 2nd Striker Brigade, 125. And so we're falling in on their equipment. They're leaving their strikers behind. We are replacing, I think, I can't remember the battalion we're replacing, but we are replacing the battalion that is down in Baghdad. The
Yeah.
rest of the brigade headquarters is up in Mosul at this point. And so our battalion's primary mission is to be the operational reserve for Baghdad. So you think, and since we're in strikers, you think you need something in Mosul, we go to Mosul. You need something in Ramadi, we go to Ramadi. We're your Mister Fix It, right? We can get there fast, and we can bring a lot of infantry with us.
Yeah.
We don't know how long we're going to be there. The unit that we're replacing had, I think, technically lived in about 6 or 7 different spots over the course of their year in Iraq. Um, and so we get there, we settle in, we start doing some patrols around Baghdad. And then probably about a month in, we get orders that we're going to go to Fallujah with the Marines, and for the offensive in 2000, in the fall of 2004. And so that really dominates our time there. Is that our battalion is going to get attached to the Marines. We're going to go in there. Our battalion has a separate mission. I can't remember the name of the little town to the northeast of Fallujah, but they're going to basically block off that town, while the Marines go into Fallujah. Because what had happened previously is that when the Marines went in the first time, they came in, I think, from the south to the north, and all of the out the bad guys basically left and went up to this little village and had hid out up there. So they figure
Mhm.
we're going to put a stop to that by doing this. Um, there was one mission for one platoon to be physically attached to the Marines to go into Fallujah.
Mhm.
That was us. That was,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that was First Platoon Bravo Company, Death Masters, 1-5 Infantry. Um, I was the senior PL. Had been a PL now for almost 2 years total, if you count Korea.
Yeah.
And apparently, my battalion commander and my company commander really trusted me. So for the first 4 days before the invasion actually happened, we were sitting at TCP 1, which at that point the New York Times had rated that the most dangerous spot in the entire world, because it was a T intersection at the northeast side of Fallujah. And it was the main avenue of approach in and out of Fallujah. And Fallujah had a huge ring road that went around it. And so there was a TCP inside the city right there. Uh, we came in, relieved the Marine platoon that was there so they could go do planning with the Marines. We took their spot, and we got to sit there for about 4 days getting shot at and blown up, until
Yeah.
the Marines came in from the north. We left about 24 hours before that, went in with them, and then immediately got called out about 24 hours after the invasion or seizure of Fallujah began.
Wow.
So,
Kind of go into the the firefighting, because like
yeah.
um I always wondered like what goes through like, because when I deployed, I was a E3, so I don't, obviously I wasn't making any calls, I wasn't saying doing
Yeah.
anything, but like what is going through y'all's mind when you're getting contact and hey, we gotta clear this or we gotta do that? What is
Yeah.
going through your mind?
For me, then, I still remember the first firefight. I'm sure everybody does. It was, dark, and then all of a sudden, all hell just kind of broke loose. So the TCP is literally to the left and right of my index fingers. I've got buildings 20 meters from my wire, right? And then I've got a road right here.
Yeah.
So that road is about the only side that I am not getting shot at
Mm-hmm.
or shot at from. Um, I've asked repeatedly, hey, can I go clear those buildings? Can I get mortars? Can I get artillery? Nope, nope, nope. Can't get, nope, nope. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. I'm like, okay, well, we're getting shot at about every hour or so.
Yeah.
But that first firefight, all of a sudden it starts going. I kind of look over to my RTO. He looks back at me. Uh, God, Jazz is his nickname. And I mean, his eyes are just wide as all hell. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
hey, get on the radio. Everybody heads down. If they're behind cover and they can shoot, return fire immediately. Right. And so, I mean, everything just started clicking for me.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly learned that I react well under pressure, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and so we made it out of that firefight very well. But then the next day or so,
Hey everyone, just wanted to hop on here real quick and give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Craig Fleming at Fleming's Cleaning. Please go ahead and use code word GWOT13 for 10% off your next commercial or residential cleaning if you're in the San Antonio area. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. We are now on Apple Podcasts, so if you're an Apple user, go ahead and follow us over there. We have every major social, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Please go ahead and give us a follow over there. Drop a comment on how you're enjoying these episodes. And with that, let's continue the episode.
we have another one. And the battalion commander for the Marines that we were attached to comes out to our TCP in the middle of the day and he's checking on us. I wish I remembered his name, but I was only with him for about 2 weeks, maybe. Really, really good dude. Always checking up on the guys whenever he could with a sergeant major there. And he's asking me, Chris, what do you need? What do you need? I'm like, sir, I need to be able to clear these buildings to the left and right of me. I'm already pinned down, but I'm getting pinned down even more about every hour to 2 hours from these buildings. It's like, okay, I'll have something for you this afternoon. That afternoon, I got a section of tanks from the Marines. And so the next firefight that we got, I had both tanks immediately slew to those buildings and just start blowing the hell out of those buildings.
Yeah.
That slowed it down. So there you go. But yeah, no, reaction under fire, taking care of soldiers, that sort of thing. Um, every night they would do feints, the Marines and the Army, around the ring road for Fallujah, trying to keep them guessing as to which way they were going to come from. And that meant that, relatively close to our positions, we had friendly forces firing into Fallujah
Right.
near us. And so this particular night, we started taking fire, and the guys are on the radio. They're telling me, "Sir, it's friendly fire." And I'm looking at the buildings. I'm not seeing any muzzle flashes or anything like that. So I immediately get on the horn to the Marines. I'm like, "Hey, y'all need to cease fire, change directions of fire. Y'all are literally firing into our positions." And of course, he's like, "Nah, fucking bullshit. We're not firing into your positions." I'm like, "Bullshit, you are." He's like, "Okay, well, mark your position with an IR strobe." So I get on to the horn to Seven. I'm like, "Hey, Seven, put an IR strobe on top of just throw an IR strobe on top of the bunker." The minute he puts his hand outside of the bunker with the IR strobe, they start shooting again. I'm like, "Motherfucker, y'all are shooting at the IR strobe."
Yeah.
Hold on. Comes back. Did it stop? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Got it. Your position's marked. Mother.
What in the world, dude?
But
Eh,
it was all good. The next day, the we had an OP set up. There was a tower, kind of 50 meters just behind our position that we had taken over. That night, apparently, when all that shit started happening, I guess bullets were just bouncing around in there, and guys luckily got down. They came down the next day. They were showing me their old desert BDU tops, just fucking filled with bullet holes from bouncing around inside the damn tower. I thank God every day. I'm not even kidding that I think about that we did not get hurt. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
No, I mean, uh, it sounds like a pretty rough deployment as your first one, and
yeah,
you're a captain and everything like that. Did you guys take any casualties or anything like that? Like your platoon?
yeah. Not while I was in the platoon. So
Okay.
that is, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the bombing at the Merez DFAC
Uh-huh.
in the fall, or I guess winter of 2004.
Yeah, I heard of
Um,
it.
yeah, so that was us. That was our brigade. So we end up in Mosul in December of 2004 is when we all end up back up there. And at that point, they're like, "All right, Chris, man, you've had too much fun. You're gonna go be the battalion S4 now." I'm like, "Okay, gee, thanks." I don't even I don't even know where supplies are. I just go to my platoon sergeant, right, for supplies. Um, and so one day we're doing our thing, and I go to grab a couple buddies to walk over to lunch because our little talk and the ALOC were probably 500 meters from where the DFAC was,
Mhm.
and we were leaving late because I'd had a meeting that day, um, and we're about 100 meters from entering like the little compound from where the DFAC is, and then all of a sudden I mean, huge explosion, like the end of the world kind of thing is the only thing you can think is like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on here? So of course we immediately hit the ground. We don't hear any gunfire, so we all get up and we start hauling ass towards the DFAC. And yeah, Bravo Company lost a couple soldiers in there, as well as the Marines, the MIT team that was there. That was a hard day. That was,
Yeah.
I mean, being honest, that was the first time I'd ever seen a dead body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and I'm literally in there doing the best I can to help clean up and help keep shit together.
Yeah. How do you talk to your platoon when something like that happens?
Um, it's hard,
Yeah.
right? Because what I need them to do is I need them to be able to process on their own quickly, especially because you're not leaving, right? You're not, just because this happened doesn't mean that you now get to go home, right? Tomorrow you got to wake up and you got to do the same damn thing and potentially face the same thing over and over again. So what I need them to do is I need them to find a way to process, but then I need them to be able to compartmentalize and be able to continue to go on. Is that healthy? No. Yeah, I'm a product of that myself. I talk to BH once a week. I have for years, trying to get over some of the scar tissue that I've got, because that's what I did, right?
Yeah.
Because it's great that soldiers see that you care. And I'll be the first one to admit, I coming out of my last deployment in Afghanistan, when Kabul fell, and we finally got our guys out of Kabul, and we're sitting there in Kuwait, and we finally got time to breathe. I got BH providers to come in and talk to the soldiers, but before they did, I sat the company down. It was Charlie Company 431, and I broke down talking to them, um, because of how that deployment and how it all went down had impacted me.
Yeah.
And am I proud that I broke down? Hell no. But do I think it actually may have helped some of those guys to see that their commander cares enough
Yeah.
and is willing to express emotion and not always be a stone wall? Yeah, because that was the appropriate time and place.
Right.
After that DFAC got blown up, the next day they were still going out on patrol.
Mhm.
And how do you do that's not a normal thing.
No.
The body is not built to be able to do that. Evolution didn't create our minds to be able to do that. And so I need you to be a superhuman, man. I need you to go home, cry in your pillow.
Yeah.
But then when you wake up, I need you to be ready to fight and have a clear head.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it's definitely tough, and you're right. It's definitely not easy losing people, and it's
No.
kind of like I tell people, like it's different from like your grandma dying.
Yeah.
Like you expect of old age to die. It's not like, hey, let's go have chow and hang out with our buddies, and then all of a sudden they get shot or they get blown up, and you're like, oh, dude, we were just doing something joyful, and like that happens. So it's
Also a
good though.
different
Like,
bond.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good though too that you said that because like I said, we spoke earlier on the it's good to hear somebody of the officer level talk like this because a lot of them, a lot of the enlisted always think that you guys are out of touch, and it's important to know that hey, you're still human too. At the end of the day,
Yeah. It affects me just as much as anybody else. I promise you all that.
yeah, that's good. Let's put it this way. Chris, he's not looking for that block. He actually cares. It's like a
Yep.
lot of people are like, oh, they're just doing this for their OER or whatever. And I'm like, it's different too, like, being the medic, and like I said, I was the battalion NCOIC
Yeah.
medic. It's different when you have the senior enlisted and the officers that are coming to
Yeah.
you for stuff. So, like, you could see that part that the
Yeah.
enlisted never sees.
Yeah. You get to look behind the curtains, right? And that was so some of the when I was a battalion commander, that was the nice thing. And then at the company level, like the company headquarters guys, they got to see behind the curtain. The company medic, right? He got to see
Yeah,
behind the curtain, see me and first sergeant goofing off, or me and the XO, or me and the RTO, or whoever.
yeah,
Um, but then they also got to see me the minute I stepped out of that hut, or whatever it was, that the RBF, the resting bitch face, went back on,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And everybody thought that Captain Rowe or Colonel Rowe was always pissed and never happy. Nah, man, I'm always happy. I'm just not going to walk around with a shit-eating grin on my face. You're not going to take me seriously.
yeah.
And so I need you to be able to do your job, and I need you to be in a certain mindset to do that job. So,
Um, so after this deployment to Iraq, you're S4, right?
yep.
And when you get done, obviously you still have some time in Fort Lewis. Are you like fiending for another deployment, or like, hey, you want to go back and do infantry shit, or do you know that that's like,
I
you're on
Yeah,
staff duty, your staff time
yeah.
now.
So I'm on this battalion staff. Um, Pardon me. You know, for context, our first child is born about 2 months after I redeploy, um, and so I'm dealing with that as well. My daughter, who I love dearly. Um, but what is it like being a new dad, and my wife
Yeah,
being a new mom, and I've also got some physical issues going on that I've got to deal with, and so we ended up staying in Fort Lewis, and deferring just a couple months, but deferred the captain's career course a little bit to kind of settle down.
yeah,
And so, what was it? I think February or March of 2006, we PCS to Fort Benning. But yeah, by the time I get to Fort Benning for the captain's career course, I'm kind of locked in, and I'm like, okay, we need to find a new job. Um, Not out of the military, but like we need to find a new job so I can do this again. So I can get back over there, right? And do what I got to do. And just so I happened to get lucky that HRC decided they wanted to take a lot of people from 1st Brigade 25th ID and ship them to the 173rd in
yeah,
Italy. And so when the assignment choices came out there at Fort Benning, that was one of them. There were two slots. I went home and asked my wife. I was like, "Hey, there's no way in hell we're going to get this. What do you think if I put this number one? And of course, my wife's, sure, I don't care. I've got a 3-month-old, Chris. That's all I care about,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, awesome. Okay. So I put it down. And I mean, thank God I ended up there. I mean,
Yeah.
phenomenal unit. Yeah. The 173rd for that 4-year period. Fucking loved it, man. Um, it was awesome.
I've heard nothing but great things about the 173rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, my one of my really good friends that he killed himself in 2016. He was from the 173rd. He was an NCO there. He did like 2 deployments there. I wouldn't be surprised if y'all were in I really don't know how that works over there. It's real small, right? It's a brigade.
What's his name?
Denicio Garza.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
You know him?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the he the how does that work over there? It's a brigade, right? So like how many battalions are there?
So at that point in time, they had just transitioned in 2006 from. God, I can't. I honestly don't remember what it was. Still a brigade, but then it became a brigade combat team, and they went
Okay.
to the modular design for
Yeah.
back then, which meant 2 infantry battalions, a cavalry squadron. You had the BSB, you had an engineer brigade or battalion, and then a support battalion or field artillery battalion. Um, we were
Yeah.
also split, and they still are split, but we were even more split. At that point in time, all you had south of the Alps, meaning down in Italy, were
Hmm.
the 2 infantry battalions. So
Okay.
first of the 503rd and second of the 503rd. Everybody else was north, up in Germany.
Okay. And so you get to the 173rd, what, '08?
No, I got there September 2006.
2006? Okay. Um, so when you're there, right, it's small, I like to say it's small army, right? Just from what I've heard.
Oh yeah.
What identity are you gonna bring to your company?
So at this point in time, I'm the low man on the totem pole because
Okay.
I'm the last captain to come in to the 173rd out of
Okay.
that kind of cycle. So all my buddies that got there, and I know quite a few people, as luck would have it. Like I said, they pulled a lot of people out of the First Brigade, 25th ID to go to Italy at that point in time. But all my infantry buddies had already gotten there and were already being pushed down to battalions. So brigade eats last. And well, I was the last one. So I got stuck on brigade as the chief of operations.
Yeah.
Initially, I'm the training officer. So I'm submitting training plans and stuff like that for the brigade up in Germany, doing menial tasks. But then they find out I'm halfway decent, so they basically make me the chief of ops, or sorry, the chief of plans until we get a major in there, and we start working on deployment plans almost immediately. Um,
So what does that entail?
you mean working on the deployment plans?
Yeah, I have no idea
So
what you're talking about.
okay, so for context, again, I get there in September. We end up in Grafenwoehr, Germany for a training rotation. It's just a brigade training rotation at this point. It's not a CTC.
Mhm.
Um, and we are on the patch chart for the following summer to go to Iraq. So me as the infantry officer, one of my buddies as the engineer, intel, so forth and so on. We got all the slices. We're sitting there in the brigade talk with the brigade S3 and the brigade XO, writing deployment plans. We're reaching out
Yeah.
to units that we're supposed to be replacing. Hey, what are the mission sets y'all are doing over there? What's your base order? Getting all that stuff, and literally rewriting an order that tells the subordinate units this is how we are physically going to deploy out of Italy into Iraq.
Okay.
And oh, by the way, because we're going to Iraq, we're doing this. These are the training missions that you need to work on in advance of our CTC rotation that is going to happen in April of next year. So in like
Mhm.
4 months. So all of that happens.
That's how that
We,
works.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, that's basically like how they get all the way down to the platoon level,
Yeah,
like training and stuff like that, right?
exactly.
That's how it works?
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
And then,
okay.
yeah, so I send that down to the battalion. The battalion, in theory, then takes that and says, okay, well, let me pull out my battalion's piece. I'm going to set it over here. These are all the core tasks that I'm going to have to do that everybody's got to do. So I pull those over, and then I start with my battalion staff looking at, okay, what does that mean to me? Okay,
Mhm.
the battalion has to secure, or the brigade's got to secure this area. Well, that means I've got to secure this area. Well, I don't have any bridges in this area, so I don't have to worry about, securing bridges, but I do have to worry about, securing hospitals or whatever. I don't know. I'm
Right.
drawing a blank. And so that then drives my training plan. Then from there, based off of my companies and how I kind of rack and stack them, I assign missions and everything, and I send it down to the companies, and down to the platoons, and then ultimately down to the soldier. Of wake up at 3 o'clock, make sure you got your flip flops and your CLP, and let's go. So
Wow. I'm glad to know how that works. I would assume that's what I would assume that that's what the battalion S3 does. It's like, hey, here's my
yes,
part,
yep,
right? And so I
no,
always thought they
absolutely.
just gave out dumb trainings all the time. That's legit what I thought they did. But
Sometimes we do. Yeah.
so how long are you doing that job for?
So I end up doing that job until November of 2007. So we redeployed from that training event in December. Like I've mentioned before, in April, we deployed to our CTC rotation in Hohenfels, Germany.
Okay.
While I'm on ground in Hohenfels, I'm sorry, I missed a huge piece there. As soon as we redeployed to Italy in December, um, my new boss, we finally got a major in. My new boss calls me in. It's like, Chris, so I need you to get all the guys and girls, and they need to go home this weekend, and they need to just let it all out, because it's the last weekend we're gonna have off.
Damn.
I'm like, excuse me, sir. Like, we're no longer going to Iraq. We're going to Afghanistan, and we're deploying in May instead of
Oh
August.
shit.
Yes, because the surge is happening in Iraq, and so they're setting the table in Afghanistan to be able to take forces that were supposed to go to there to Iraq.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got to redo the base order. We've got to redo the deployment order, redo all the training plans, all of that stuff, everything. So we go, like I said, now we're at Hohenfels for our CTC in April. Um, while I'm there, I find out that not only are we deploying early, I'm deploying Advon. Um, so I'm like, okay, sir, could I go home maybe a little bit early then to get some watch leave before I deploy? Like, yeah, sure, okay. So I actually deployed in April of 2007
Uh-huh.
to Afghanistan. Um, Still, yeah, I'm basically the deputy chief of plans as the maneuver planner, the infantry guy there. I do that job until November. So I write or I help write, I should say, all the base orders for when we get there, the campaign plans. Although technically at a brigade you don't have campaign plans, but back then we thought we did. And how we're going to win the war in our little piece of Afghanistan while we're there. Um, I don't know where I'm going to command at this point. It's still very much up in the air. And finally, this story might be a little hard for me to tell. It's one of the ones that I still have issues with. Um, so I'll do my best to get through this. But this is when this is when I found it was both one of the best days of my life and one of the worst days of my life. I find out that I'm going to be the company commander for Delta Company 2503rd. I'm uber excited. It's a heavy weapons company, but they're basically a light infantry company up in Kunar province, Afghanistan. The way they're kind of being used, I'm doubly excited because one of the people that I've become close friends with is the Brigade S3 Sergeant Major, who is slated to go be the next battalion command sergeant major for Second of the 503rd. Um, well, he's out on uh, a bird checking out on soldiers up in Kunar because there's a huge operation that they're doing up there. Um, and find out he's coming back. So I go out to the flight line to be able to tell Lyle. I'm like, I want to tell him, hey man, we're gonna get to hang out again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as Lyle, I see his bird land. He's coming off. And he sees me out there. Of course, I got a huge grin on my face, and it looks like his world's been rocked. And I'm like, what, dude? What's up? Like, you're friends with Sergeant Rugel, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he was my Ranger buddy for 6 months at Ranger School. Why? Sergeant Rugel was just killed. We don't know where his body is yet. Um, so, uh,
Yeah. It's a and like you said too, you're gonna be the commander. You kind of just have to car what's the word, like compartmentalize it, and then like just keep going. You gotta show it for the troops, right?
yep. So that was, yeah, that was a crappy day, because Larry and I had become damn near best friends there in Ranger School for 6 straight months.
Yeah.
Right. Um, yeah, he was a phenomenal guy. Um, but I'm getting ready then. Yeah, I put that in the kit bag, like I said. Um, and I start focusing on, okay, I got to get ready. I'm about to go in the shit here, man.
Yeah.
Um, I'm about to go take a company command in the same battalion that Larry was in, that is in the middle of a firefight every single day.
Yeah. Um. So if you can, how did that work? Right. Like, where was the company commander, and then like the platoons? Like, where were they at? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So for us, physically, that deployment, we started off. I don't know if you're familiar, for any of the listeners out there that are familiar, or I guess are not. So Kunar Province, Afghanistan. It's over on the northeast side of Afghanistan. Shares the border, and a mountain range with Pakistan. Pardon me. There is a major river that runs north south called the Kunar River. That bisects that. It runs all the way south, down to Jalalabad, which is another province, but that's where the brigade headquarters was. So Second Battalion 503rd was in charge of all of Kunar Province. So for anybody that's heard of the Battle of Wanat, Korengal, all of that all came from Second of the 503rd in this deployment. And so the Korengal, the book, anybody that hasn't read it, or the documentary, please go watch it. It's a great one. Old buddy of mine, Dan Kearney, who's still in, that was his company. Um, and then, yeah, so our company at that point in time, we were all west of the river. So we had no forces on a permanent basis on the east side of the river. There were only two bridges that went over there. There were some Afghan army soldiers over there. Um, our little base, the guys when I got there had taken a compound, if you will, and paid for, rented a compound there, next to the river and the main road. That was the company headquarters. I had one platoon that was out at a cop permanently, in Chowkay Valley. I had another, that was just north of us. For a little while, we ended up closing that one down. And then I really only had the three platoons at that time. Two Delta Company platoons, to run the major roads,
Hmm.
do that, and rotate up into Chowkay, and then one light infantry platoon from Charlie Company, Second of the 503rd. They primarily held Chowkay because it was up in the mountains.
Damn. And for everybody listening out here, like the area he's talking about is very heavily fighting, and I like to point this out too because and part of the reason I started this podcast was I was trying to highlight that conventional forces, we were fighting in some areas, they were fighting a lot. And like I talk to my friends now that they didn't serve, and they didn't have no idea that we were doing this type of stuff in Afghanistan and Iraq. And it blows my mind that obviously it's probably not highlighted like a Green Beret story or a Navy SEAL story or anything like that, but the extraordinary feat that everybody had to go through on this deployment is remarkable.
Yeah, no, it was so for me, it ended up being a 17-month deployment,
It's
again, because I
very long.
deployed Advon, and then I also 2nd 503rd was the last battalion to redeploy. Just luck on that one, right? But it was a 15 to 16-month deployment for most of the people. So not only was it just a hard place to be, we were there through the entirety of 2 fighting seasons as well.
Yeah.
And again, for anybody that's not familiar, the fighting seasons are the warm months, right?
Mhm.
And it was intentional, because they did not want a new unit coming into what at that time was the most hostile place in Afghanistan in the middle of a fighting season, and not knowing the land and not knowing the people. And so it made sense to keep us there a little bit longer. Um, and then just unfortunately, things like not happened.
Yeah.
Um, and in my opinion, I think it would have been worse had it been somebody else. So,
So, did y'all know that you were gonna go to like this mountainous terrain?
uh, we did. There's no replicating it if that's
Yeah.
what you're kind of getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we tried.
Yeah.
So we tried our best. Actually, especially with the next deployment, because we learn lessons. So we did
Mhm.
some training with the Italian Alpinis, which is the Italian light infantry that walk up and down the mountains in the Alps and stuff like that. World renowned, great soldiers there. Um, but at that point in time, we got caught so short footed with the amount of time to be able to plan and resource training. The the spring of 2007, summer of 2007, we just didn't have enough time. So at that point, it's just okay. How much cardio can you get in,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because it's going to be all about stamina, and that doesn't prepare you, man. Like the
Yeah.
oh my god, like I hate running. I really do. My
No,
body is not my body is not built for running, brother. I We haven't talked yet, but I'm literally on convalescent leave because I had my second hip replaced last
oh,
week.
wow.
My body doesn't like running, but those mountains will just like they'll break you down.
Yeah.
Um, and having to walk up down those mountains, I respect the fuck out of the soldiers that did that.
No, yeah, for sure.
Um,
Especially it's, kind of unknown, right? Like, it's different when these guys are, like, the fittest people on earth, but they know what they're going into.
yeah,
But it's different when you're going into the unknown. It's hard to prepare
yeah,
your mind for something like that.
it is. It really is. Um, Look, I've been lucky in a lot of ways. I really have. Units I've been assigned to, the units I've commanded. Like I, whether you believe in God or not, I believe in a higher power. I definitely believe that. Um, and I couldn't have asked for better units and better situations the entire time. Um, it's little things like I talked about with Sergeant Mangels, as my platoon sergeant. When I went to Delta Company, 2nd 503rd, my first sergeant was Mitch Rucker, still one of my best friends in the Army. He's retired 2nd Brigade, 82nd Sergeant Major, lives in Italy now with his wife. Um, I, Brother, I walked into a company, I didn't have to do squat. Like I could have hid in my room, not literally, but I could have hid in my room for the rest of the deployment, and that company would have just ran itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good First Sergeant Rucker and his NCOs had that company running. Um, the guy that ended up replacing him, uh, God bless his soul, Steven Zaleski, um, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Shane Sport, my last first sergeant there, hands down, like when you think of what you want a good NCO to be, and this is no disrespect to any of the NCOs that I've had out there, that I'll mention later, but mentally, physically, just He was it, right?
Yeah.
Personality, he was it. And the way that we meshed, um, like it was scary sometimes the way that we meshed. And so that second deployment into Afghanistan with him, with chosen company 503rd, um, and the training that we had to do to get that company straight and to help get our minds right after everything that chosen company went through in that first deployment. It was hard, man. That was hard. We chaptered over
Yeah.
12 people out of the army in 12 months. Not because we
Wow.
wanted to, not because we wanted to, but because we had to.
Yeah.
We had that first deployment had built a cancer inside of there because soldiers couldn't process like we talked about before.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to get them help, you're trying to get them help, you're trying to get them help. But then at the end of the day, that you cross a red line in the army, it's a red line. There are some things that I cannot help you get back from.
Yeah.
I just can't. As good of a soldier as you are, and I had at least three that were great soldiers that I would love to have kept in, but there are red lines in the army that I am not allowed to keep you in after that. I have to immediately start separation paperwork.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sure for
yeah.
you, like that's hard. Like you're
No.
like, hey, I know this person is phenomenal,
Mhm.
but he's like, yeah, I have to do this.
Yeah. It. Yes. But
Yeah.
where I was going with that is that to then that next deployment in Afghanistan, where did I end up? The exact same spot. So much so that I'm going to my first shura there, in now Koskonar, which is on the other side of the river from where I was the last time. And this older Afghan gentleman starts walking towards me, and I immediately recognize him because he was a sub governor over on the west side of the river last time. He's
Yeah.
like, "Chris, hello, my friend." Doing one of those things, right? So yeah,
Oh, you're the
yeah,
Taliban.
yeah, right. But no, so we had the knowledge of the terrain. We had the knowledge of the people to help better protect our soldiers, or at least to
Yeah.
give them the best possible advantages that they could have going into what was another difficult deployment.
Yeah. So how do I say this? So like the train up to this second deployment,
Yeah.
obviously you already have the knowledge, right? And
Yep.
you say you have more resources available.
Mhm.
Was it I'm not gonna say I wouldn't say easier, but did it feel more I guess you were like more fluid with it, like to command that time?
I definitely so I was not lucky enough to be involved in the physical train up of the company on the first deployment, right? Because
Right.
I was up at brigade. So this is the first time as a company commander that I've been in a position where I can train for an actual deployment.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you that I learned a lot personally, and I think I grew a lot during that training. But I think I know I was not processing everything properly
Mhm.
for myself. Um, Everything that happened with Larry, everything that happened to Winot, um, it was a lot.
Right.
It is a lot. And so looking back on it now, um, I started realizing that I had the ability to go from 0 to 100 at the drop of a hat when I needed to,
Yeah.
um, which is good as an officer, right? As long as you
For
can
sure.
control that. It did bleed over a little bit into my personal life, and that's why I started seeking help. But what I found in my professional life is that while I was definitely more fluid in training and what I was doing and what I was seeking to try to make the guys and gals ready to go do this, um, I also suffered a lot less bullshit
Yeah.
because I knew where we were going because I had just spent 17 months there.
Mhm.
And I knew what life was going to be like, and I knew how bad it could be. And there's only one remedy for that, and that's to train as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Um, and so we did. Luckily, I if you ever get lucky enough to talk to Eric Phillips, he's an old buddy of mine from the 173rd, um, Silver Star winner. Um, phenomenal human being. He was one of my platoon sergeants there. People like him. God rest Bobby King. He was one of my platoon sergeants. He killed himself. Steven Zaleski, before he rotated out and Shane came in.
Yeah.
All those guys, like they had all suffered with me in that first deployment. And so we all went in with that same mindset of we can't let this happen again.
Yeah,
We,
for
we,
sure.
we know what it takes.
On this deployment, is it still like as heavy? Like this is probably what 2009, 10.
Yeah, so we deployed, I want to say November of 2009.
Yeah. Is it still as heavily like gunfighting and everything like that, or did it kind of like?
It slowed down some. It was
Mhm.
not as bad. There were arguably more singular, intense firefights, but
Right.
not the constant attacking everywhere, small scale, and then a large scale. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, it was not the same, and we didn't really understand that. It was not quite the same as the first time.
Yeah. Um. So after all this, like these two, I would say they're both rough, right? Like the first one,
Mhm.
obviously, but the second one too.
Yep.
How are you like feeling as an officer? Obviously, did you already made that mind like, hey, I can go the distance and continue this, or
Yeah.
like, hey, I don't know if I can do this. Like, am I
Yeah.
not mentally right for it, or what?
No, I thought I was built for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, must be a duck.
Uh
I
huh.
was a fucking duck, man. And that proved it. I there was no other life that I wanted besides that.
Yeah.
And that first deployment is as shitty as it was, and maybe I'm just dumb. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are just like me after that first Afghanistan deployment. At least that sealed the deal. I
Yeah.
was no longer looking or even contemplating getting out. It's like I want to ride this ride. Let's see where we can go.
So what was it like? Were you chasing like the combat thing, or was it like what was it like that?
It was the leadership thing. It's a drug, um, for me. I like being in charge. I like, not because of the authority piece. It truly is not that. It's the team. And if I'm on the team, I want to be the team captain. And if I'm not the team captain, then I want to be the assistant captain. But if I can't be the assistant captain, that's fine. At least I'm on the team. Let's
Yeah,
let's make this thing go. What do
for
we got
sure.
to do? I know I'm not the best. I never thought I was the best. Truly, I didn't. But I knew I was really, really good.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to do the best that I could. I knew that I could keep people safe. I knew that I could make a difference. And quite frankly, after that second command, that's when I really started to get a taste of, hey, you know what else I can do as a company commander? I can start to influence things, which
Yeah.
which which gets back to one of the other things, that when my dad was trying to convince me to go ROTC, um, that I had thought he was kind of full of shit. He's like, okay, look, not only are you going to get a better paycheck, bud, but you're not happy being in the reserves right now, right? I'm like, no, I'm not. If you're a E5 or above, you don't have to work. If you're E4 and below, all you do is work, right? Um, and while I don't expect the NCOs to be out there 24/7 with us, it'd be nice if they shoveled once, right? Kind of thing.
r- right.
Um, and it just wasn't happening. And I'm explaining that to my dad. And he's like, well, then you got to make a difference. I'm like, I can't. I'm a specialist. He's like, I know you can't. You know what you could do to change that? Be an officer. I'm like, of
Yeah.
course, yeah. I'm 19, 20 years old at the time, whatever it is, 21. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, man. but it's about this time at that second company command is I've got some of the PLs from my first command, my company XO from my first command. They're reaching back out to me now because they've PCSed or whatever, saying, "Hey, sir, what do you think about this?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, this is kind of cool. I can now take some of the lessons that I've learned and start trying to pass those on in yet another area of my career field and try to help set those people up for success,
Hmm.
to be able to get the positions and leadership roles that I think they deserve.
Yeah. Man, yeah. I think what you said is right too. Like, there's nothing comparing, right, than doing it in full time. And honestly, I feel like that's part of the reason why soldiers, anybody, any military personnel, they're either getting in trouble or they're not because they're not doing that job
Yeah,
in real time.
yeah. No, so boredom is the worst enemy of an infantry soldier.
Yeah.
I mean, they get bored, and I mean, that's
Yeah.
where you get the
I know.
best. Come on, man, that's where you get the best stories. Okay, that's where you get the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
stories. But
yeah,
that's
for
also
sure.
where I get to see you on Thursday for UCMJ. So
Yeah. Um, so how do you let's put it this way, how do you make these decisions that you know that you're going to put people in danger?
um, it's difficult. Um, but at the same time, I trust them implicitly,
Yeah.
right? And so it's about laying out all the risks, and then being able to mitigate those risks to the greatest extent possible.
Mhm.
Um, so anytime we would do any sort of operations, it was okay. Let me make sure I layer every single thing possible. I may not be the priority for this asset, but I'm gonna damn sure make sure my boss knows that I'm gonna be here. My soldiers are gonna be there. Got it. You got something else going on over there, but I need to be able to call you, sir, and know that I'm going to get those. All right, got it, Chris. Yep, right. And
Yeah.
it's being able to relay that to you now, the platoon sergeant on the ground, saying, hey, brother, I know I'm about to ask you to go to the hill, but I'm going to pour every single thing I've got in my back pocket on top of that hill to make it as easy as possible. And I'm going to be
Mhm.
right behind you. I am going to be right behind you, pushing you the whole way.
Yeah. Do you think do you think some people are scared of that risk?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. It's again, it's not a normal thing, man.
Mhm.
To especially when you equate it to life and death.
Yeah.
Um, when people's lives are on the line like that, I completely understand that. I don't blame anybody for that. I really don't. But yes, it is hard to make those decisions when
Yeah.
you start thinking about the losses.
Yeah.
Um, and I need them to think about the losses. I don't need a cold calculated person saying, okay, they're just numbers on a spreadsheet. I need them
Yeah,
to
for sure.
know. I need them to know that it's Larry Rugel, Lucas Beachnaw, so forth and so on. I need them to remember that. Angel Green, that's who we're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Not Soldier One, Soldier Two, Soldier Three.
Yeah. That also shows that they care too,
Yes.
Um, let's get into this, what is it? Operation Resolute Support. What is that?
Yeah. So at some point, and I apologize that I didn't brush up on my history. Operation Enduring Freedom. So Afghanistan transitions to Operation Resolute Support.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Um, yes. And so at that point, we're now really talking about trying to build up the Afghan forces in the hopes of turning it over to them at some point.
Yeah.
We get notified, and it's I'm now the sorry, I'm the battalion commander of 4th Battalion, 31st Infantry Regiment up at Fort Drum, Polar Bears.
Yep.
Um, I think it was in May or June of that year. The brigade commander pulled me in and said, "Hey, we think we're going to have a brigade mission. Our brigade is going to go replace was it First Brigade, 10th Mountain in Afghanistan." I'm like, hell yeah, hell yeah! That's why I came to 10th Mountain. Okay, we're good. Let's do this. But we're also in the middle of COVID in May of 2020. So training is difficult, but we start doing our training plans, live fires, all of those things.
Yeah.
Not sure what the mission is right now, because
Mhm.
we don't know who's replacing who specifically, as far as locations or anything. So it's one of those, if you don't know what you're doing, blocking and tackling, always blocking and tackling. Um, and so Jerry and I fought tooth and nail, to make sure that our guys could block and tackle the best out of everybody. And no offense to my brother and sister battalion commanders, 431 was the best, and there was a reason why.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, it wasn't Jerry, it was Steve Wallace before me, and those guys that they trained and left behind. And so we took over probably, let's say it was July, August. We finally find out that it's no longer going to be the entire brigade. We now think it's going to be the brigade headquarters and one battalion. And the brigade commander pulls me and he's like, "Chris, it's going to be 431 and me. We're going to go to Afghanistan and we're going to help close down Afghanistan. That's all we know at this point. We don't know how long we're going to be there. We know what our orders say, but Afghanistan may be closed before our orders expire." Okay, got it, sir. Um, Fast forward a little bit more, probably October now, and we're supposed to deploy in November, by the way. October, we finally find out that, okay, now it's just 431. The brigade is no longer deploying at all, just our battalion. And I am now dealing with trying to replace an entire brigade's worth of combat power with one infantry battalion that is not even going to be allowed to deploy at full strength because of man reductions over there,
Yeah.
or troop reductions over there, I should say. Um,
What do you mean by that? Like, hey, you're not allowed to have this many people, or it
yes,
won't be that
yes,
size? Okay.
correct,
And the
yes.
big army
So
makes that decision.
yes, because Big Army has already made the public decision that we are withdrawing from Afghanistan. The
Right.
only thing we don't know right now is what the last day will be. And so
Okay.
they've started making incremental drawdowns
Yep.
over the months, that, every month or so we're pulling out, just for round numbers, we're going to pull out 100 soldiers every month, right? Until we get down to the last 100 soldiers, and then we hand it over. Here's the keys, have a nice life, and we're gone, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, and so I fight tooth and nail. I find all the little nooks and crannies, all the cargo spaces to hide soldiers, and I deploy as many soldiers as humanly possible over there, because I don't know what it's going to look like initially. And thank God we did. Um, but within 3 weeks of being over there, we were already redeploying people home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or at least out of country, I should say. The first set of people, technically, they weren't allowed to be in Afghanistan anymore. But the loophole was, okay, sir, let me move this infantry company to Qatar. They'll run the processing center over there for people coming in and out of Qatar to Afghanistan. So that if you need a QRF, you got a QRF sitting over in Qatar that they could come
Yeah.
back in. Hey, Chris, that sounds like a great idea. So we move a company over to Qatar. Well, we need people down in Kuwait to help out process people there. Hey, sir, same thing. Let me move some infantry soldiers down there, so that now you got a QRF down there as well, right? Um, and it's just this constant game of handling the day to day business of, they're still going after bad guys with aerial assets, and some special operations stuff going on, I'm sure. But life over there resembled what a mid deployment would kind of look like, steady
Mhm.
state, meaning you're not. I, we never had any indirect coming on. I was out in Helmand province as the battalion commander, anyways. We didn't have indirect fire coming. We had a couple hairy moments there for a little while, but nothing major. It's just the daily minutia of running a base. right?
Yeah.
Life support stuff, stuff that I definitely never thought I'd be doing as a battalion commander.
Mhm.
Um, and my soldiers are now the only infantry soldiers, conventional infantry soldiers in Afghanistan from the army, anyways. They're spread to the four winds on all the different bases, helping out. I've got a couple that are QFs. I've got a couple that are partnered with special forces teams, and I've got a majority of the others all kind of doing the same thing I am, and that's day-to-day life support activities on bases,
Yeah.
and making sure things are running right. And we're constantly tearing down stuff, packing it up, putting it on airplanes, and shipping it out of there. And that's probably steady state, really until about the late spring, early summer,
Mhm.
and we still don't know what's going on. Um, which made this probably one of the most difficult deployments for Jerry and I. Right? Is how do I look at you, Jeremy, in the eye and say, okay, I don't know when we're deploying or redeploying. I don't know how long we're going to be here.
Yeah.
You're like, sir, what do you mean? When am I going to see my family? I,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's tough.
I don't know. Well, sir, you're full of shit. You know something and you're not telling me. Brother, I swear to God, I am telling you everything I know right now. And it's that constant battle, tugging forth, back and forth, because I didn't know that
Yeah.
Jerry didn't know. There was no secret meeting going on behind closed doors that we were involved in that said, hey, listen up. By the way, we're going to redeploy on this day. We're just not going to tell everybody. No, that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
It was all politically driven, meaning that they had not decided yet when they wanted us to redeploy because there were still negotiations going on, way above my pay grade. And so our job was, and I kept trying to tell them, our job is to continue to keep the lights on until they tell us they need to turn them off.
Yeah.
And then when they do, we'll get out of here. And the minute they tell me that, guys, I'm going to let you know. And so majority of my job when I wasn't running a base was getting Jerry out to all the places because I wasn't allowed to leave Helmand, um, and getting the guys that were on Helmand together and just telling them that over and over and over again. Guys, as soon as we know, we will let you know. Right now, we still don't know.
Yeah. That's pretty tough, man, especially during
Yeah.
that time, and I think that's important, what you said, like, it's hard for soldiers to see the bigger picture, right? Like, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is not me." You're like, "I don't wanna be here any much more than
Yeah.
y'all do, trust me, so
Yeah.
why would I have a secret meeting about when we're gonna leave?" It's
Yeah.
a lot of politics go into the war, and,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think people need to remember that stuff too,
They do,
that
but
it
that deployment. Sorry, that deployment. Real quick, made me think of something. Was the first time it actually dawned on me. Remember when you were PFC specialist, and you thought about Big Army,
Yeah.
right? Can you really remember? Close your eyes if you need to. When you were
Mhm.
a PFC, what did Big Army look like to you?
Uh, I know where you're getting at this, but yeah, I would say at my time when I was a
Yeah.
PFC, probably you guys.
Yes, exactly. And that's when it I maybe I'm slow. It took me 6 years to get out of college, so
Yeah.
you do the math. And that was not with a master's degree. Um, it was on that deployment that I realized, when I heard my soldiers complaining about big armies full of shit, big army, blah, they're talking about me,
Yeah. You're the
right?
sergeant
And
major.
so, how,
Yeah.
yeah, how do we change that perception? Not take it to heart, right? Because they don't know better. They really
Yeah.
don't. The,
It's not
everybody,
personal.
yeah. But how do I change that perception? And that's gets back to kind of the story I talked about with getting out there and talking to the soldiers and being like, hey, no, I really want to talk to you. I want to tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What do you like to do? You have brothers and sisters? Okay, great. What do they do? What's mom and dad do? No, you don't got mom and dad? Man, that sucks. That must have been hard. Talk to me about that. Right.
Yeah.
So that they understand that I actually care about them. Right.
Y
Because yeah, we represented Big Army to as my time as a battalion commander, probably over close to 2,000 people. I was
Yeah.
Big Army.
I think that's important too, that soldiers need to know out there. If there's new soldiers watching this, which I have
Yeah.
quite a few on my stuff, is like it's just as important to you to be vulnerable to the commander or echelons as he is vulnerable to you, right? Like you
Yeah,
get to know him. Obviously, there's that professional bearing still, but like you just taking it down a notch and not it being about the mission in that moment is very important to both
yeah,
parties.
yeah. It was difficult. That was, like I said, especially it didn't get easier because, like I said, May, June timeframe is when they finally made the decision. Okay, we're gonna have everybody out. I think the original mark on the wall was symbolically it's gonna be everybody's out by 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so General Miller, who was the commander of Resolute Support, phenomenal officer. I loved working with General Miller. Um, he decided, okay, great. You want us out by September 11th? We're going to
Mhm.
get out of here as soon as possible
Right.
because you're not telling me that I have to be here by a certain date. You're just telling me we have to be out by this date. And so speed equals security at this point because the smaller we get, the better of a target we look like potentially.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let's get everybody out of here. So it quickly, the wheels started turning very fast at that point
Right.
where we started, okay, we can close everything down in 30, 45 days. And so we started doing that, right? And then shortly thereafter, we got the mission that there were still kind of some I guess some talks going on where they wanted to keep an element of U.S. forces in Afghanistan, um, and it was going to look like a security force essentially for the embassy up there at HKIA, and it's going to initially come out of 431, and then we'll figure out who the replacement is. It ended up being out of Third Brigade, 10th Mountain. Um, um, and yeah, so we do that. I decide, okay, well, I've already got one platoon from Charlie Company 431 at HKIA. At that point in time, Swayze Brown is my company commander. Um, Charlie Company is one of my best companies. It's an easy decision. I'm going to take Swayze, his company. I'm going to move them over to HKIA, and they're going to provide that security mission because I'm also hard stopped at I think it was 120 people.
Mhm.
Like you essentially you can have whatever you want in there, but it can only be 120 people, and you got to be able to outfit at least 3 infantry platoons. Like, okay, I got you. So it was because we were a little undermanned at that point. It was his organic 3 platoons and then 1 platoon from our Delta company.
Yeah.
Um, and so the hard part was that Swayze was at a different base and he was going to end up having 2 or 3 platoons at HKIA answering directly to the rear admiral. So, so like a lieutenant talking to a two-star, basically. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think that's a great idea. So I'm going to leave Hellman and I'm going to go up there until Swayze gets on the ground. And then I'll do a handoff with Swayze. And then I'll go to Kuwait, right, and redeploy.
Yeah.
Um, and so Jerry and I made the tough call that hey, now granted at that point we don't know that this is what's going to happen, but I send Jerry back to Kuwait, and he's there with the guys in Kuwait, and I go forward or north, I should say, to HKIA. What we didn't know what was going to happen is that they were canceling all of the flights leaving Kuwait, and they were going to no longer let me redeploy from HKIA.
Oh.
Okay. And so again, now we're in a different situation of me trying to talk to anybody and everybody that I can of, okay, why can't you right? You
Yeah.
let my people go. Yeah, no, I mean, I know the soldiers probably don't believe this, but I'm asking every single day. I'm calling people, pissing people off. And finally, I talked to some guy at CENTCOM, some civilian, and he's like, well, wait a minute, you're 431? I'm like, yeah, I'm 431. I've got 500 people sitting on ground in Kuwait ready to fly home to Fort Drum. Why can't they get a flight? Oh, well, that's top secret. I'm like, hey, uh, literally, he told me that's top secret. I'm like, hey, you know what is really cool? I've got a TS, and there's a TS line right over there. Give me your phone number and let's talk. He was like, yeah, no, we can't do that. What the fuck? Okay. So
Yeah.
Jerry, God bless Jerry and those guys down there. At this point, I kind of intuit that I'm like, I think maybe they want him there as the QRF.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, Jerry, look, this is what we got to do. We got to get them gainfully employed. Get Let's start locking in some training ranges over there. Because a lot of these guys have just been sitting on bases. They probably haven't done any marksmanship like we were doing. Let's get some basic marksmanship ranges. Let's see if we can start looking at configuring gear if we need to redeploy back into Afghanistan or whatever is going on. I don't know. Um, thank God they finally started opening the flights. Probably about 3 weeks after that,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And Jerry, again at that point, we had had a really hard discussion. That look, man, 90% of our battalion at that point is back at Fort Drum, and all I've got at this point is a brand new S3, a brand new XO running our battalion back there. I need some adult supervision that I know and trust. Nothing against those two majors, but I didn't know them.
Yeah.
Jerry, that's you. It makes sense, Jerry. And he's like, yeah, no, it makes sense. Um, but that was a tough decision for him to make because he obviously wanted to be right there next to me the whole time, and I wanted him there next to me the whole time.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's go. I'm gonna pause it real quick. So, at this point of like Afghanistan coming to an end, how does it feel like you're one of the last main officers that are gonna be over there?
at this physical point in time, I'm not even looking at it like that yet
Yeah.
because I know now that um, one of the battalions from 310 is coming to replace me.
Right.
Right? They've already made the decision that we're not completely leaving yet. We're going to leave
Hmm.
a small element here. Um, I am just looking at okay, how can I facilitate getting that brigade and that battalion over here quickly so that
Yeah.
my soldiers and I can leave before our 9 month rotation is supposed to be done. Um, and you know that's quite frankly it. It's not until like the proverbial shit hasn't hit the fan yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't come for probably another 2 to 3 weeks at this point. Um, so again, I find out Ben Jackman and his battalion are coming forward. They're going to replace me with one company. They're coming in with exactly 120 people, and
Hmm.
he is coming to replace me. And then he and I are basically going to fly back together because my position and my grade is not authorized to be there, but he wants to help with the transition, kind of like I did. I'm like, Ben,
Okay.
that sounds like a great plan, man. Absolutely love it. So he gets over there. I'm physically separated. I've got one platoon over at the headquarters that
Yeah.
provide security for the embassy, and I've got three platoons on HKIA, um, providing some base security, but more QRF type stuff, right? Because the Afghans, the Turkish soldiers, and a whole bunch of other people are doing the physical base security piece.
Yeah.
I have started up the Base Defense Operations Center, which didn't
Hmm.
really exist on the U.S. side, at least at this point. Trying to gainfully employ myself and make sure we're good. And we are 48 hours away from redeploying.
Hmm.
And I'm walking, dropping, or I just picked up my last load of laundry. Um, and I'm walking back when I get called on my radio. Hey, sir, we need you to get into the TOC now or the B-dock now. And I'm close by, so I take off running. I get into the B-dock that we had set up there. I'm like, what's going on? We're getting some crazy reports, and it's all through unclassified stuff that we're getting this through. Because a lot of our sensors, so like you would think like the aircraft flying overhead or the cameras or whatever, We don't have a whole lot of that anymore. A lot of it's been taken out of country. But what we can see is not good. And
Yeah.
we're starting to get reports that the prison in Bagram it has been overrun, and all the prisoners are leaving there. They're headed towards Kabul.
Yeah.
And the prison to the, I believe, northeast of Kabul has been overrun, and they are headed towards Kabul as well, right? Um, and so it's something bad is starting to go down, and we do have one camera set up. It's watching the civilian airport side, and I remember watching as it looked like a scene from a zombie movie where
Yeah.
people are just running, starting to flood into the airport because we can see into the PAX terminal, the passenger terminal, and then they just start filtering out and flooding out of the passenger terminal and flooding the airfield, trying to find airplanes that are leaving. And of course, none are leaving at that point in time. And
Yeah.
so at that point, that is on the west side of the airfield. All the
Hmm.
U.S. forces are on the east side, and you got the runway in between us. And so we see them coming. And so immediately I call Swayze. I'm like, hey, get Charlie Company out there now. Charlie Rock needs to go because I'm talking to my coalition counterparts, and they're like, nope, nope, we are just defending where we are. They're not going to get on the base. And I'm trying to tell them we've got aircraft there that they're going to overrun, and they're going to get into our position, and we're not going to be able to push them back. And so I get Charlie Company out there. We meet them on the far side of the airfield from us. There are a couple firefights, and this goes on 48, 96 hours
Oh
where we're
god.
just, yeah, where we're constantly trying to see if humanity keep them from going any further because I'm down to 70 people,
Yeah.
right? Now, luckily at this point, I've also got one company from 310
Hmm.
that's there. They're helping out, but it's too much, right? There's just too much. And oh, by the way, we're starting to hear that people are trying to come through some of the gates that are plugged. So we've got to go and reinforce gates. We've got to do all of this, and it's just pure chaos. It's pure
Yeah.
chaos. The exfil team from the Marines um, had been on the ground. I had already linked in with them, was doing some prudent planning with them, but it was one of those where it was like we thought we had more time,
Hmm.
and so that they got caught off guard. And then it's about okay, well now we got to try to get flights in, so we got to clear the airfield so that we can get flights in. And every time an airplane lands or every time an airplane takes off, you've got civilians trying to flood those aircrafts, and that's where you start seeing the videos that popped up of Afghans falling off the side of the airplane because they're grabbing onto the tires as it takes off.
Yeah.
Um, because we just can't protect them from themselves. We don't physically have enough people. And this, like I said,
Yeah.
this goes on for quite a while.
No,
Until
that's great info. Like
yeah,
I'm watching it right from my perspective. I'm like, what are we even doing? You
yeah,
know, I'm lost. Like I don't really I don't understand what is going on. And like
yeah,
you get big podcasts like Joe Rogan and all these people are like, oh, these Afghans are just hanging from the airplane. I'm like, dude, this is not how we do business. There's something wrong.
yeah.
Like there's obviously something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything's going to get taken out of context, right? All this stuff. And
Uh-huh.
then you throw on top of that now, you've got Taliban soldiers doing the videos of all the equipment we left behind for the
Yep.
Afghan soldiers that the Afghan soldiers,
Just gave
like, they
up.
couldn't even, yeah, they just gave up. They couldn't even get to it if they wanted to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, and it's like, oh, look at that. We basically just surrendered. Well, yeah, no bullshit. Like, we're fighting tooth and nail at this point, still
Yeah.
trying to help them, trying to protect ourselves, trying to protect them, thinking that there's a chance. And it's rough, man.
Yeah.
It's really rough.
People do not understand like the sheer size of a brigade down to like where you guys are at now, and that's the
Yeah.
only amount of personnel you're allowed to have. That's
Yeah.
a huge factor here. And logistical too. Logistics is a big
Oh
thing
God,
too.
yes. Yeah. Like I mean, like I said, luckily we were able to staunch the flow a little bit. One, we were not using lethal force on the crowd.
Yeah.
We wouldn't unless we felt it was like limb or eyesight kind of thing. Imminent danger. We did receive sporadic gunfire within the first 24 hours. We did
Mhm.
return gunfire, um, and then it, you know, immediately stopped after we killed them. But from that point on, it was just, how do we, because we couldn't, you cannot cover an entire airfield with 100 people.
Yeah. No, it's not possible.
You can't, right? And you've got thousands upon thousands of Afghan civilians trying to get to where the airplanes are. And right now, all of the airplanes are on our side of the airfield. And yeah,
Just chaos.
it seemed like an impossible situation.
Yeah.
At that point, they start talking about, okay, well, we need to activate the 82nd. Then Major General, now General Donahue's team, to get them in
Yeah.
to help as a QRF. But we clear the airfield. How do we clear the airfield? To be able to get them in, because at this point we're down to like maybe 1 or 2 flights a day, so we're not making any progress at all.
Yeah.
And so we finally were able to get the airfield cleared, and we were able to get General Donahue and Colonel Teddy Kleisner in, because it was his brigade that came in from the 82nd to help us finally get that cleared. And then at that
Yeah.
point, 431 then transitioned into a QRF slash main entrance security mission,
Mhm.
um, which you would think would be easier, but that's actually where it got way more difficult for the guys.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll tell you why. Have Rhetorical question: have you ever seen a man throw a baby into barbed wire? It's not a fun sight,
Right.
and that's what my guys were having to watch every single day, because they knew if they stole that baby out of that lady's arms and they put it in danger, that we were going to have to do something to save that baby. And that possibly meant opening the barbed wire and opening the fence so that they could try to get onto base.
Yeah.
And it was a common occurrence.
Yeah.
It was
And you know the thing
fucking
too is
horrible.
like soldiers, Marines, whoever was out there dealing with this stuff, like you can't like there's no damn block of instruction
No.
on how to do something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like uh
Not in my wildest dreams would I thought to put that into the platoon live fires. So yeah,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah,
No, you were dealt, I'm gonna say, almost a damn near impossible task, and uh obviously I don't know what's classified or whatever, what's not, and I
yep,
appreciate you talking about this story because
uh,
I had a whole segment in August about the Afghanistan withdrawal. I didn't have anybody of your knowledge on the obviously I only had like soldiers, right? And
yeah.
it's good to hear this part of
Uh,
the what is going on.
I'm just happy to tell of a 431, man. I would like to just kind of go on a rant for a minute here if I can. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I think probably Jerry maybe mentioned it to you. I think I may have put it in my notes before this to you. You know, the interesting trivia piece for 431, the first conventional forces that went into Afghanistan. You want to hazard a guess who that was?
431.
Yeah, there you go. Charlie Company 431.
Yeah.
Literally, Charlie Company 431. Then Lieutenant Colonel Townsend, now retired General Townsend, was the battalion commander. Um, who would have thunk it, right? That Charlie Company 431,
Yeah.
one of the last conventional infantry battalions in Afghanistan. The only reason they weren't was by a couple days.
Right.
Technically, the 82nd was last there. Um, I'll begrudge him that, but yeah. But no, it was, you know, it was really difficult.
Yeah.
With all the mental stress, the emotional stress before that, really, of just not knowing, okay, what are we staying? Are we going? What are we doing? Why are we here? To then, have it culminate into what amounts to 2 weeks of pure hell, of people trying to overrun your position on a daily basis.
Right.
Like, I have nothing but admiration for those soldiers and Marines that were there with us, and what they were able to do, and the people that we were able to save, and get out of Afghanistan.
Hmm.
Um, and then to top it all off, we finally get out, and we're in Kuwait, and we end up spending, God, I think we were in Kuwait for like 3 weeks because of all the expat flights coming out of Afghanistan. They basically stopped all U.S. flights out. Um, but 2 days after we get out is when that bombing at the gate happened, where they killed the Marines and the U.S. Uh, staff sergeant.
Yeah.
And the first emotion, again, what do you think that first emotion is as soon as my guys hear that? Guilt,
Yeah.
because they weren't there,
Survivor's guilt. Yeah.
because they weren't there. And I tried
Yeah.
to tell them, that's when I pulled them in. And like, look, guys, I get it. Um, but there is nothing that y'all could have done. There
Hmm.
isn't. And you need to be able to accept that and live with that.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's really hard.
It is for sure. Anger, right? There's a bunch of emotions going on
Yep.
with that, and like I said before, it's not usually how we do business either, and
No.
I think that's the problem. Another problem too is like uh we didn't show what America was, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
the full force of America. And obviously put politics get involved and everything like that, but if it would have been done the way I would have imagined, it wouldn't have been like that. But we can't. What is considered a security detail? What is it considered a conventional force? Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
that factors in to something like this.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. Well. So we're coming up on the end of this podcast. I have just three more questions for you.
yeah.
Give me some officer advice for the young cats out there that either want to go green to gold, or they're thinking about joining the army, or they're, hey, I'm a first lieutenant, brand new captain. I want to go the distance. Give me some advice here.
Find the best NCO you can and learn everything you can from them. I mean, that's hands down the best advice I'll give you. Um, you don't know what you're doing. Accept that, but also understand that everybody's going to expect you to know what you're doing. But you can't stop until you do. And that means, first and foremost, I've got to be able to sit down. I've got to talk to you and have an honest conversation and explain my weaknesses to you behind closed doors and say, hey, this is what I know. Now tell me what I don't know. And so that you and I can go out there and we can make the best out of this. Um, it's my army, your army, great army. I only say it like that because I don't know where we're going. I don't know what it's going to look like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now. But it has been a phenomenal, phenomenal experience for me. And I wouldn't change it for the world. Look, I'm going to retire. Hopefully, we'll see. Knock on wood. In about a year and a half from now, and I'll have a little over 30 years combined service. Um, and again, wouldn't change it for the world. Wouldn't. But it also takes a certain type of person to be able to do that. Um, with the current geopolitical situation that we're in, everything that's going on in Ukraine continues to go on over there. Posturing around the world and other locations. There's another conflict on the horizon.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is, and I'm not going to hazard a guess as to where it is, but just know there is another one on the horizon. Um, and so don't take it lightly. Um, but it's a fun ride, man.
Yeah.
The best people I know are all the people that I met in the army.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say the army was the best people and the worst people I've ever met, and,
Yeah,
and, I now that I'm out, even with my wife served too, and, we don't ever reflect on the bad times too much, you know?
yeah,
Uh, and at the moment, I know the soldiers are all, "This place sucks," all this other shit, and, you know, but you're gonna look back on it and you're only gonna remember the best people and the good times, really. Obviously, you remember some stupid stuff. Like, I remember mopping the pad of bird
yeah.
crap and everything when I was a young private, but,
Nice.
it's very far and few between, man, like,
Yep.
it's so, my next question for you is, give me some dad advice.
Ooh, dad advice.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah,
I mean, you had 2 kids while you were in, you know,
yeah.
it's
I
pretty.
did, I did. And so far, again, knock on wood, they still have 10 toes, 10 fingers, 2 arms, and 2 legs. Um, so this could also go for army advice a little bit. If you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. Um, and if you're stupid, life is short. So don't be stupid. Um, but no, look, I I am past now because I've got a 15-year-old, right, and a 20-year-old. I'm past the little kid stage. And for me, like personally, that was hard.
Yeah,
One, because I wasn't there much, but two, like that is my favorite stage of childhood. So we got some nieces and nephews now that we live near that are in that stage, and I eat that up. I eat it up. I love that stage. Um, so for all the moms and dads out there, just try to enjoy it. And I know everybody's going to tell you it's going to be gone before you know it, but it really is. It really is. It's going to be gone before you know it. And so the key is the work life balance piece. Um, and so for any dad, whether that's military dad or civilian dad, you've got to be able to figure out what the work life balance is. Um, and ultimately, there is no right or wrong answer. Where you end up, that's where the priority is. And so you got to be able to figure out what that priority is and what it means to you. For me, I think my wife would echo this. When I was there, I was there. I was I wasn't Captain Rowe. I wasn't Major Rowe. I wasn't Lieutenant Colonel Rowe. I was dad. I figured out what I needed to do to help me physically transition from sir to dad.
yeah,
Um, and it's worked. Thank God. Knock on wood. I'm not done yet. Not in the ground. Um, but yeah, just enjoy it, man. It goes by so fast.
yeah. Last question, you could probably guess what it is. Give me some, spousal advice here.
Well, I mean, the easy one is she is in fact always right. She is. Nah, happy wife, happy life, all that good stuff. You know, they're all sayings for a reason. But the main one is, and I got it. You know, I'm gonna ask you a quick question. What's the most overused AAR comment? Come on.
Uh,
What is it? What is it?
dude,
It's
I
an
don't
easy
know, it's
one.
been 5 years.
It
I've been
begins with
out
a
5
C.
years.
It begins with a C.
Communication.
There you go.
Yeah,
But it's the most overused for a reason. You got to
right.
be able to talk,
Yeah,
right? And my wife and I, and not because of her, but because of me, my wife and I, we still have to work on that. It's difficult at times. There are parts of me that I still have not fully shared with her, and we've been married
yeah,
for coming up on 25 years now, because I don't even share them with myself really.
yeah,
Um, and so I'm not the expert, but I know that you got to be able to talk to each other, um, and you got to be able to talk in a healthy manner, and then have fun, right? If you're not having fun with if you're not having fun with the army, you're not having fun with the kids, you're not having fun with the wife, then why are you doing it?
right.
I mean, right? And don't think that having kids or anything like that, that's not what's going to make it better. Please don't. I've heard of people doing that. Oh, we're having problems. Let's
No,
have a kid. No, no,
no.
no, no, no. Don't do that. That just adds more stress, right? And for all the moms and dads that might be listening to this, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but you got to carve out time to remember that the reason you have kids, the reason you're together, is because at some point in time you actually liked that person that's sitting across from you. So
Mhm.
how do you keep liking them? Is that you a date
That makes
night
perfect sense.
every, yeah, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not rocket surgery, I promise.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best at this. I'm not. I just happen to be stubborn as fuck, and so's my wife. And so we love each other, and she loves me because I'm stubborn. I love her because I'm stubborn. We have our ups and downs, but at the end of the day, uh, Jerry's one of my best friends. But there's nobody I'd rather spend time with than my wife.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't.
For sure.
Um, and if you can't say that, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
okay. But you need to figure out how you get back to that, because I guarantee at some point in time, your wife, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, um, girlfriend, there was a point in time where there was no else that you wanted to spend time with. You got to figure out how you get back to that. So,
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Chris, I enjoyed this podcast. Do you have any questions for me?
ooh, I probably should have written one down. No, man, I do want to just take a second um, for doing what you do here. You spreading the word, the good word of the soldier, the Marine, the airman, um, and hopefully, this touches somebody. Not my story per se, but your podcast. Hopefully, it touches somebody, and it helps them. Whether that's in a manner of seeking help because they're not in a good mental space, or maybe gives them some advice. I don't know. Um, but without people like you doing this, it doesn't happen. So thank you, and I appreciate you reaching out.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I know it takes a lot of courage to come on here and be vulnerable and show people who you really are, right? You're more than your service, right? And I always say to people, don't be proud of it, but don't become it, right? And uh, I appreciate it so much, man. I hope we continue to be friends. And Chris Rowe, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you already made it this far, go ahead and hit that subscription button or follow if you're on Spotify. Share this content. Once again, hit us up on all major socials. I'm always looking for guests. Thank you so much for checking it out. We drop a new episode every Wednesday. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.